especially no taste. I used to live in Hollywood near the beach, and I looked out my window one day and I saw an 80-year-old man, and he was wearing nothing but a leopard skin thong.
No.
Oh, how
No.
special.
And he had not looked in the mirror for many six-packs.
Oh my.
Yes, he was from Canada, I'm sure of it.
It's either that or Europe.
I could tell by the second-degree burns. But the other thing about this series is that my character is Helen Hawthorne, and Helen made me the queen of the lousy job. Helen was a St. Louis woman, and she worked in a corporation, and she made $100,000 a year as director of employee benefits. And she lived in a big house in the St. Louis suburbs, and she always did the right thing. And then one day at lunch, she went out and she read a magazine, and it said, "Surprise your husband and change your marriage." And so she ran home. And her husband, who was supposed to be working on the back deck, was nailing their next door neighbor, Sandy. And so Helen picked up a crowbar and she started swinging. And she hit a man in the place where you hurt him the most, his brand new car. She just beat that sucker into rubble. So she, anyway, Helen then divorced the rat, and the judge, who was apparently dropped on his head at birth, gave half of her future income to her ex-husband.
What?
And Helen swore that he would never see a nickel. And so she left St. Louis, and she took off, and she went in a zigzag course around the country, and she wound up in South Florida. And there she started working jobs for cash under the table so that her husband would not get any of her money. And so that's the premise. In each book, she works a different lousy job. In the first book, Shop Till You Drop, in this particular book, Helen sold bustiers to bimbos. And I discovered that there is no shortage of bimbos in South Florida. I had trouble actually finding them because I'm not a man and I don't have any money. But I went to the salon where they hung out, which is how I became a blonde. And I listened to them talk, and it was fascinating. And this is a whole nother world. And the one woman said, "Well, I told Vinny I can't date him anymore. It's too dangerous. All of his friends are dying." And I said, "They're sick?" And she said, "No, silly, they're turning up in barrels in Biscayne Bay." And I said, "What does Vinny do?" And she said, "He's in import-exports." Okay. And she said, "The FBI came to our house and they showed me these pictures. We'd gone to dinner with Heather and Sonny, and they said, and they showed us, and it was just the grossest pictures I've ever seen. And they said, 'Did you have dinner with these people on the night of August 7th? And I said, "Would I have dinner with anyone who looked like that?" And she said, "And then I told Vinny, I can't go out with you anymore. It's too dangerous. That's why you have a wife."
You can't make this up.
No, I can't. Being from the Midwest, I said, "Vinny's married?" But yeah, they were all married. These women are, I had looked upon the bimbo as stupid. They're not. They just have a different way of getting what they want. It's not my way, but it works for them. And it's fine until they're about 40. And at that point, the sort of man that would marry a bimbo doesn't want them anymore.
No.
And so life gets very, very difficult. Now, the second book in my series Murder Between the Covers. And for that particular book, I worked at the Barnes & Noble. And I had thought that working in a bookstore would be like, it would be like the life of the mind. We would discuss great works. It was more about the bathroom. And this woman came up to the counter and she said, "There's a naked lady in the bathroom and she's shaving her legs." So we went to the manager and we said, "This is why you make the big bucks." I think she got a quarter more an hour. And she went in and there was a naked lady and she was shaving her legs. And the naked lady said, "The sun is my father. The moon is my mother." And the manager, who was from Brooklyn, said, "Honey, this ain't no family reunion. Get your clothes on and get out of here." For my next